I have made two sets of slides. One of them is Zoom practice as a participant, and the other is Zoom practice as a host. In this video, I kind of cover parts of both of them. So this is a hopsy-flopsy. The main bulk of this video is a recording from last Friday's webinar. But then I have added some separate slides here and elaborated a little bit on them. This was the welcome slide for the Zoom meeting that we had last Friday. During the piloting stage, Merja Alanko-Turunen and I facilitated quite a few interactive webinars on Zoom. And somewhere along the line, Merja got the idea that we should have this opening slide, which would welcome people when they came in for the first time. We always open the room half an hour before the workshop starts, so that people have time to check their sound, do some last-minute trials and so on. And for that purpose, this page has worked quite well. The schedule was always a disaster. We had planned that the check-in would take about 15 minutes and the check-out another 15 minutes, and there would be a bulk of 60 minutes for going through the materials and letting people practice in the breakout room. And it never worked out. So for future, if you run these workshops, allocate at least 2 hours for the workshop. The check-in activity was borrowed from a Facebook meme from 2010. The idea was to throw imaginary sheep to each other, but also to practice some functionalities in Zoom. The first thing was to be able to change between gallery view and speaker view, because in gallery view we wanted to have a nice clear view of everybody in the grid. The first activity was to lift hand. In some groups there were 1 to 2 people who remembered this meme and lifted their hand, but in some groups nobody remembered. So we changed it so that everybody who has never heard about lamb tossing, please raise your hand. So we practiced hand raising and it worked quite well. Then the next step was that we would toss the lamb to somebody else. And the person who got the lamb had to speak out his or her motives for participating, what he was or she was hoping to receive during the 1.5 hours. And the person who had thrown the lamb would take up the notes and record it in chat. And the point, of course, was to make everybody share their video, make everybody talk. There's research saying that if people are in the very beginning, in the meeting or in a webinar, if they are asked to say something, the speaking mode kind of sticks, and they are more open to participate in discussions later during the workshop. Okay, and next I will cut in the material that I recorded last Friday. It kind of starts a little bit abruptly, but bear with me and try to follow. We are recording so that they know. There is a small little red lamp on the left side telling you that recording is on. The problem or an issue we have at the moment at Haaga-Helia is that we don't have a cloud recording option yet. This means that all the recordings that you make in Zoom will be placed in your own computer. So on your desktop computer, in Documents, Zoom, it will create a new subfolder whenever you record a session. And in this subfolder, it will put the video and also the text file for the chat and some annotation for pictures and so on. And this is a little bit more complicated now compared to having AC, where you can share the recordings from the cloud easily. So what you need to do is you need to upload from your local hard drive the video MP4 file up to Kaltura and publish and share it from there to your students.
And if I may say here that as soon as the Kaltura integration will come, then we will have that. Then the Zoom recordings will automatically be saved to Kaltura, and also cloud recordings. If it will be possible, then we will probably have it also.
Yeah, but for the time being, this is something that you should be aware of. I have collected on 2-3 slides some principles regarding interactive workshops online. I'm not going to talk through them now, but when you get the slides, have a look at them, because Zoom invites people to more collaborative ways of working than AC would do. And it's very important to keep in mind some of these things. So at first, I list out the principles. The principles should preferably be made up together with the crowd who will participate. So if you have a project team, for instance, in the project team, you could make the ground rules for smooth participation and the principles that you have. In here, I call for 4 different experiences that people can have. There's the content experience. Is the content valid for the person? There's the participatory experience. Are the assignments and activities meaningful? The interface experience. Do I know what to do in this interface? And the social experience. And as I said, Zoom invites social interaction. And you can read more about how to design good online. The link name, it seems, is in Finnish, but the material that I've linked is in English. But nothing on those now, because you are here to learn the techniques. The idea was that even for online meetings, not only webinars with students and workshops with students, we might start paying attention to some ways that will make it more effective. But now it's time for a poll. So polls are available here as they are in AC. And as a hint, I have written here, it's a good idea to make a slide for a poll. Otherwise, you might be as me and forget to open the poll. So now I'll open the poll for you. And this poll is in Finnish, but everybody will be able to answer it anyways. So I will launch the poll. And the question is, choose all the programs that you have used to participate in interactive webinars or in online meetings. Now I will end the poll and I will share the results. I can see that everybody is familiar with Skype for Business. Quite a few have already participated in Zoom. Surprisingly, more of you have participated in Zoom meetings than AC meetings. And quite a few have also already participated in Teams meetings. as Päivi already mentioned, AC is about to be discontinued at Haaga-Helia, but so is Skype for Business, because Skype for Business is now doing its countdown, another 17 months, and then it will be past history. So everybody who has used Skype for Business for team meetings, for instance, will now have to choose a new tool. It can be Teams meetings, but it can also be Zoom. So that's why it's important not only for teachers who teach, but also all staff members who are going to have virtual meetings to get familiar with these new tools, both Zoom and Teams meetings. And then I stop sharing. So the goals here are that you are able to join a Zoom meeting using meeting ID or link. I would imagine that most of you, most of the time, have joined Zoom meetings using a link. That's what I did for a year and a half during the piloting stage. But now that we have our own Zoom and we have the desktop client installed, some of you have installed it yourselves, but it's now rolling out by the IT people so that in the new updates of your desktop, Zoom will be already included. This means that you can use the desktop application and it makes life so much easier. When you use this desktop application, it's a good practice to learn to use meeting ID because that way people don't get lost in the internet and accidentally join by their browser. So that's something that we'll go through, and you are able to do it because you are all here, so you have been able to do it. There are some basic functions like speaker view, gallery view. That's what you have already practiced. We have done something with chat already, and we'll be doing more. Then there is option more, side by side, request remote control and annotate. And you have already participated in a poll and was in your hand. And then what you mostly wait for is the breakout room, I guess. So those are the things as a participant. So if you don't have the client, you do, but sometimes, for instance, your students, they don't have it yet. Give them instructions to first download and install the Zoom application. And also there is the app option, the mobile option, works very fine with iPhone and iPad and Huawei phone. So that might even be something that your students will use a lot. The key here is that you don't sign in with email, you sign in with a single sign-on. So you click sign in with SSO and your company domain is Haaga-Helia. And in the third box, you provide your Haaga-Helia credentials, the short form, the same form you use when you log into Office 365. And then when you join the meeting, you copy paste the ID you copy the ID from the invitation, you click join on your desktop app, and then you paste the ID and there you go. And this way you get the settings that are Haaga-Helia settings. Also, if you have not yet joined with by signing in with SSO, it's possible to be here without doing that. It's a good idea to do it right away because it stays there. Once you do it, you don't have to sign in every time. It's there by default. And when we talk about Moodle integration, it's important that you have at least once signed in with SSO. And since we are two people here, if you have some questions, you can write your questions in the chat, and Päivi is there monitoring the chat all the time and giving you feedback if you need some. So feel free to ask questions. Of course, it's also possible to join from the website. But even this route eventually takes you to your desktop application. So open Zoom meeting, open Zoom meetings, it takes you back to your application. That's why it's a shortcut to start from the desktop and not go to the web at all. But it's possible from here too. On mobile applications, the meeting ID is the way to join. That's why it's also a good idea to start using meeting ID even on the desktop app instead of the link. So then we go to chat. And in chat, you can send messages to everyone. If the host has allowed, it's possible to send private chat messages. And what's so good about this Haaga-Helia Zoom compared to the pilot version that we had, we are able to also send files in chat. And this is important because, for instance, take a situation where you have people in a webinar, in an interactive workshop webinar, who come from different organizations. You don't have a means of providing the files for them. And there's always somebody saying in the seminar, oh, so where can we get the materials? Can we get the materials from somewhere? If you arrange this meeting in Zoom, you can always send the materials with this file upload and file download, which is available in chat. And many times people prefer getting actual attached files. However, it's also a good idea to always share the materials even in OneDrive or SharePoint and provide a link here. And there are two reasons for that. One reason is that if your participant is participating on a mobile device, they cannot open the file, but even they can reach the materials through the link. The other one is that if you're doing a session with your students, they probably don't want to download materials. They keep them on Moodle, and you still would like to tell them instructions about how to go around in the breakout room when they are put there. That's why also the link whenever possible. Then when you are in the breakout room, people sometimes are afraid that, it still says everybody here. If I chat with the participants who are in the same breakout room, will my chat messages go to everybody in this whole meeting? No, they don't. The reason why this might be a bit confusing is that each participant gets their own chat feed, and it can be different from somebody else's. What I mean by this is that in the chat field, the participant receives, he gets all the messages that are in the general lobby, the main lobby, that have been put there after he enters the room. So all those materials they get in the same feed. And then when they go to their breakout room and they add chat messages in the breakout room and they go back to the main room, everything is in one feed. And that might make people wonder, did everybody get my messages from the breakout room into their feed. They didn't. But for one person, all the messages, all the chat messages that she or he has been involved with will be collected into one feed, which makes it nice because then you can, with one click, save everything. I mean, explaining this takes a long time, but it's a simple thing and to realize then when you see it happen. When we talk about how to instruct people who are in the breakout room, my mistake in the beginning was that I thought that I cannot give them instructions in the big lobby and then those would follow them into the breakout room. I thought that I have to go to the chat in the breakout room and give them links to instructions. Luckily, that's not the case. So before you assign the breakout rooms, always go through the instructions and share the links to the instructions in the main area. And then after that, you go and put the people into the breakout rooms. And now I'll see if I can find this particular file and share it with you. Zoom practice host PDF, Zoom practice participant PDF. So I will send you this file. And I will send also the other file, which is the host file. Like that. So just to check the activities and also so that you have now your materials with you after this session, go to chat and go to those files and choose to download them. So download the presentation from chat. Is that where you also get the instructions on what to do? Okay, so what did... Still a question, do I use the same address when I invite people from abroad? Yes, yes. You always use the same meeting ID. It's your meeting ID that matters. Okay, and now I assume that everybody has received the materials. Sorry, I have to leave since one member of our staff is retiring and the party is starting soon. Yes, go, go, go. Now you have the materials already. And today I'm going to say my farewell in Jammer, because I'm also retiring. This is my last day of work. And I'll say goodbye in Jammer. And also I will include the links to those videos that are at the moment in YouTube. But Päivi will eventually put them into Kaltura. But I'll share all the materials and all the links after this session. So have a nice party. So now that I'm sharing, you will notice that there is this green area. I hope also David has noticed that there is this green area. You are viewing Irmeli Pietlä's screen. And next to it, there is view options. And from these view options, there are a couple of options that I strongly recommend that you would take into use. And what they are is side-by-side mode, meaning that you will get two halves to your window. On one half, you will have the presentation, and on the other half, you will have the video feed, so that the videos are not blocking the view of the presentation. So that's what side-by-side mode means. And you can even change the partition, so you can drag and make the presentation bigger or the videos bigger, depending on how you want to see them. From this particular menu, you can also find two other important functionalities: request remote control, which means that you can ask to control my slides, or the other one, annotate. And next I will stop sharing. And before I stop sharing, I will put my recording on pause recording. Oh, I resume recording. Okay. So this is what you should practice next. Arrange your window side by side. Adjust the width of the presentation by dragging the separator there, and ask for permission to control my slide. And even add a heart to this slide. So those are the things that you should now practice. Starts after this. Okay, let's see who is first. Somebody now got access to my files. So the remote control now, Inga Paakkinen, is controlling my files. Try and take my files back one step to the instructions on how things are done. So Inga, you have control of my things.
Yes.
If you scroll, if you hover your mouse on the bottom left part, you should see some arrows popping up. And from the arrow, take the left arrow to go back in the slide deck.
I'm not quite sure. I don't have any mouse. I just have my touchpad. What I was supposed to do now? Arrow, you mentioned. What am I supposed to do?
So you are supposed to control my slides.
Yes.
Try and go backwards.
Okay.
Now try and go to the previous slide.
Okay.
And it sometimes works with the arrow keys, but not always. So that's why.
It's not really working.
So with your touchpad, if you hover, so that on the bottom left, you should see, yes, now you are there. Ha,
Okay.
ha, ha, ha. Yeah, you could.
Okay.
Yeah. So the controls are on the bottom left, and it's possible to give control to somebody else.
Yes.
Either so that the person requests control, as you did now, or from the host point of view, I could have given remote control to anybody, even when they didn't ask for it.
Okay.
Does anybody see any reason when would this be a useful option?
When one is supposed to kind of contribute something to a slide or presentation, or modify it together, maybe?
Modifying together might be one option, yes, but very, very, very common situation, at least in Päivi's and my case, has been that we host together, and this time I'm just talking myself, but many times it's so that Päivi has prepared a couple of slides and talks about those. I have prepared a couple of slides, and somebody else some other slides. So there's a lot of people presenting, and instead of making each one of us a separate deck of slides, we work on the slides together on OneDrive or Teams or SharePoint. And then when the slide set is ready, we present it together, so that when it's my turn, I'll have control, and then when it's somebody else's turn, I'll give control to the other person. So just for presenting purposes, this is a really handy option. Of course, what you mentioned here, I could also give remote control, and in there I could give mouse auto accept all requests, so everybody could get access, and then it would be a chaos. But sometimes editing a slide together like this would also work. Okay, I'm going to abort your control. Did everybody manage to get the side-by-side view? Hands up, who managed to get the side-by-side view? Okay, good. Do you think that this would be a good option? I personally do think that it's a nice way of seeing the presentation in one half, seeing the people in the other. Because otherwise, at first when I didn't know this option, I kept on dragging the videos away from my screen this way and that way. So that's a good way. You know what happened? My Siri voice recognition started. Can I quit Siri? Okay. Go away. So now we are already preparing to go to the breakout rooms. In breakout rooms, when I share you into the rooms, what you do is you accept. On my side, it's automatic. If I make random groups, all I need to do is decide how many groups I will have and then send to random groups. You accept, join breakout room. You open the PowerPoint that I provided. It's now in your downloads folder if you did what I asked you to do. And then you start doing the things that have been listed here. On the next slide, I think that it's on the next slide. Yes, you can see the share instructions on the next slide. So once you get to the breakout room, and there are lots of things about share this and share that, the instructions on how to share are on the next file. If you are stuck, you can ask for help by clicking this ask for help icon, and I'll get a notification. But at first, I'll leave you by yourselves for a moment so that you can get started. And before I let you go there, I will clean all these hearts. We'll talk more about annotations later. So, any questions before I throw you away? No, not away, but before I send you to the breakout rooms. I'll just make two groups, two rooms. Inka, Laura, Päivi, and somebody who's... So if you're wondering why am I not proceeding, my mouse is stuck. But I will open the rooms and let you get started. After the visit to the breakout rooms, we came back to the main lobby. And in here, I had made a slide with a satisfaction meter so that you got the hang of how to annotate something. So in Zoom, it's possible to annotate both the whiteboard and any other slide. And in here, you were asked to place a stamp on the line where green is very satisfied and red is not satisfied at all. We quite often use slides to collect annotations from the participants, because that way it's possible to also give the instructions, whereas on a whiteboard it will be more difficult. When the vote is over, all you need to do is click Save, and this image is saved in the same folder on your local computer where the recording and saved chat messages will go. And then you still need to click Clear, otherwise all the annotations will also be visible on the next slide. So, by now you have had a small taste of what can be done as a participant in Zoom. And actually not so small taste either. All these things that are ticked in the boxes have kind of been covered during the session. But of course, before you can really handle it, you need to get more practice. And that's why I really warmly suggest that you get a colleague with whom you can practice Zoom. And once again, we ran out of time and could hardly cover anything of the most important part, that is, how to host a Zoom meeting. Some of the goals would have been how to schedule a new Zoom meeting and start it in as an instant meeting or as a scheduled meeting. And also how to create a Zoom meeting in Moodle. How to invite participants in the meeting and how to record. Of course, recording we kind of covered already during the participant session. And then also sharing a presentation was practiced in the breakout room. You participated in a poll, but you never had a chance to see how a poll is created. And you were also put into breakout rooms, but you never saw from the host's point of view how that all works out. And then there were some meeting room settings that we kind of ran through. But I will now kind of add a little bit content to this recording and discuss some of the things that we didn't have time to cover during our meeting. In my slide set on how to host a Zoom meeting, I have provided some examples of invitation letters that could be used. And you are free to copy them if you feel that they are useful for you too. So with people from Haaga-Helia, be it staff or students, you could invite them like this. They should preferably join from their desktop client and log in with SSO and use their Haaga-Helia credentials to get in. Also, guests from outside Haaga-Helia organization should always join with a Zoom client. That's why in the invitation letter you could remind them that they can first install Zoom application and then join. The easiest way to reach a group of students with one invitation is by adding Zoom meeting on your Moodle. Through Zoom integration, what you can do is you add Zoom just as you would add any other activity or resource. The one important thing, though, to notice is that you should have logged into or signed into Zoom at least once using SSO. Otherwise, there will be an error message because the system won't recognize that you are part of Haaga-Helia domain. You can add a Zoom meeting into the competition tracking, and also you can make it part of the gradebook. In this image, I try to clarify a little bit what can be found from the toolbar when you are in presentation mode. So, first of all, the toolbar jumps from the bottom of the page to the upper part of the page. And on top of the other tools that you are already familiar with, you'll get some new ones once you are in presentation mode. You'll get the pen, which is annotation tool, and this we already practiced when you were putting those stamps on the satisfaction meter. We also practiced how to request control from the host to run through the slides. And this is how it looks like from the host's point of view. The mouse icon opens the menu where you can allocate permission and also abort permission when the time comes. Then there is more, and from more you can open chat and breakout rooms, things that you normally could open from the toolbar itself. On top of that, there are some new tools that you can only find from here. Before you can make polls, this option needs to be checked in the settings. But no worries, in Haaga-Helia default settings, polls are available. You cannot add a poll to your meeting using the desktop application. You need to sign in to the website. And in there you go to the meeting where you want to add the poll, either upcoming meetings or your personal meeting room. Then what you do is you scroll down till you find this text, "You have not created any polls yet," and just click add. When you make the poll, pay special attention to the title, because sometimes when you have several polls in one meeting and you are in a hurry to start the poll for the participants, you might have trouble finding the right one unless you have really paid attention to the title. Another thing regarding the polls is that when you have already shared a poll in a meeting, if you go back to the website into meetings and you scroll down, you see all your polls there, it might be that you cannot find the delete button. Don't panic, I did. It might sometimes take a couple of hours before this delete button is available after you have shared a poll already. So normally you can both edit and delete your polls from the same place where you originally created them. Creating breakout rooms is quite straightforward. All you need to do is find the breakout room icon. If you are in video mode, it's placed in the toolbar at the bottom of the window. If you are in presenter mode, you can find it from more. This toolbar then is above the green sharing thing, as we have discussed earlier. In the first dialog box, you can then choose how many breakout rooms you want to create. And you can choose whether you want to do them manually or automatically. I usually use automatically, and this option then creates random groups of people. Even when I know who should be with who, I usually start with automatically and then do some fine-tuning on the next dialogue. So here on the next dialogue, number 3 it is, you can rename the breakout rooms if you want. And as you can see, it's possible to move a person from one breakout room to the other. At the bottom of the dialogue, you find options. This means that you can, for instance, set the time of the breakout room and other options. Just study them by yourself. There are also buttons for recreating the breakout rooms, so changing who is with who. and also adding an extra room. And sometimes this is a good thing to add a couple of empty rooms for the second round, so that you can easily move people from one group to the other using these empty rooms for that. And then you click Open Rooms. You already remember that it's possible for the participant to ask for help in the breakout room, and the host gets a notification. But even with somebody, even if somebody doesn't ask you to join the room, you as a host can always go and visit these breakout rooms. There's also an opportunity to broadcast a message to all rooms. At first I thought that this would be a handy way of telling them what to do, but it doesn't appear in the chat. You cannot provide a link there, so it's more like, I'll broadcast that there's now time to move to the second step of the assignment, or another 5 minutes before I close the rooms. Notifications like this can be broadcast with this particular choice here. And when it's time to close all the rooms, you just click on the red button and the rooms will be closed. By default, it takes another 60 seconds before the people are forced to come back to the main lobby. But they can, when they get the notification, they can return right away manually. Many teachers have asked, is it possible to create breakout rooms in advance? For instance, there might be a project group that always is the same. So these 5 people should always be put in together into the breakout room. It's possible to do this, but only for members of Haaga-Helia domain. So in order for you as a teacher to be able to pick a student into a breakout room in advance, what you need to remind to the students is that they need to log in with SSO so that their names become available for you. You cannot do it from your desktop application. You need to sign in at the web page. And then when you create your new meeting, in the meeting options, you choose Create Breakout Room Pre-Assign, and there Create Rooms. And then you add as many rooms as you need and start writing the name of the person you want to put into one room, and Zoom starts suggesting people who are babies, for instance, in this example. You choose the right one, and it's quite smooth process to add people into these pre-assigned breakout rooms. You can edit settings on the website, and then you can edit some other settings in the desktop application. In here I've highlighted a couple of areas where you might want to go and have a look. So you might want to go and have a look at the profile and then have a look at the settings. I would say that nowadays the settings have been pretty well polished. Päivi has done a good job doing that. And the default settings already are probably what you want. But you can still go and have a look if there's something extra you want to choose that's not in the default settings. In profile, I suggest you do a couple of things. You add your photo, because this photo will be shown on Zoom if you turn off your video camera. So instead of just showing a name it will still display your face, and that's a good thing. You can also add your phone number, your department, and so on into the info card. And then what I find is quite convenient is this third, personal link. Instead of using the number 449215 and so on, I have changed here Irmeli. And this means not only a link, but also the meeting ID is changed. So that when I invite somebody to come to my own meeting room, all I need to say is join with Irmeli. And they get to my room. So I don't have to share the long number. All it takes is the name. I decided to skip the settings. So if you are interested, go and have a look. But as I said, they are pretty good already. So what are the next steps? I warmly recommend that you find a friend with whom you can play around in Zoom and practice. During the training session, you had a chance to practice a little bit as a participant. But everything you now know about hosting is just based on what I have shown you and what I have talked to you. You have not yet any hands-on experience. And that's what you need before you go and host a session for a large group of people. So there are still some things that you can do before starting the practice. You can watch the video I made in the questions and answers session. It's in Finnish, but it shows you what the desktop looks like when the host is doing stuff. So that might be a good thing to look through. And then there are excellent, really excellent little video clips that you can find from Zoom's support page. And they also offer weekly webinars on very many interesting topics. So keep an eye open and you can join an interesting webinar with them. But then when you have watched all there is to watch, then find somebody and start practicing. I did have a checkout activity, but we always ran out of time before it was reached. So if you, after watching the video, want to give some feedback, what was your most important takeaway from Zoom training or from the video? Please go to slido.com and write the code V339 and write your short answer on what your best takeaway was. Thank you very much.